Beloved, Psalm 147, verses 2 and 3 say these words: The Lord rebuilds Jerusalem. He gathers the exiles of Israel. He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. This is a portion of the lectionary reading. What I'm struck by is how these verses speak to every layer of the human experience of the exiles that came back from Babylon to rebuild the walls, hang the gates, and rebuild the temple, but to our human experiences of our pain, our longings, and our hopes. They remind us that God is in the business of restoration. He gathers us even when we feel exiled. It's not just about stone walls. It's not just about city gates. It's about God restoring all of us, personally and collectively. It's about God bringing us home. God is a place all by himself, renewing our identity, reestablishing our sense of belonging. God doesn't just repair what's broken, he makes things whole. And that's where the text, I would argue, meets us existentially. It speaks to that deep universal ache we all feel when we're far from home, whether that's a physical place or the inner sense of being rooted and connected. Exile is more than being displaced geographically. It's the experience of being fractured, being alienated, being disenfranchised, being lost. And yet God doesn't leave us in that place. He gathers us. He draws us near. And then he does something even more tender. He heals our brokenheartedness and binds up our wounds. This isn't a distant, detached God. This is a God who comes very close, intimately close, into our depths and enters into our suffering, where he gently tends to our pain. As it relates to our way of being or our ontology, the passage tells us something deep about who we are and who God is. We were made for relationship. We were built for connection with God, with others, and with our sense of purpose. When those connections break, it feels like our very being is shattered. God's nature, however, again, is to restore. He takes what's scattered and shattered and puts it back together again. He takes what's wounded and heals it and makes it whole. That's not just what God does, it's who God is. God is a God who heals. God is a God who restores. God's presence is healing presence. God's presence is restoring presence. And in relationship to lived experience, phenomenology, the text captures what it's like to live through those experiences, to feel exile, to feel broken, to feel wounded, and then to have an encounter with a God who sees us, who gathers us, and begins the work of healing to bring it to completion. It's not an abstract idea. It's a reality we can feel, a transformation we can live through. God doesn't just rebuild cities or fix problems. God rebuilds lives, yours, mine, and ours. He takes our broken hearts and gently binds them, not rushing the process, but step by step walking with us through it, just like Jesus walked the road to Emmaus with Cleopas and Mary. The text in Psalm 147, 2 and 3 remind me that no matter how fragmented we may feel, whether by circumstances, relationships, or our own inner struggles, God, our Father, who loves us and reveals himself to us through Christ by his Spirit, is ever and always present. Underneath are the everlasting arms. He's gathering us. He's healing us. He's rebuilding us. And in that, there's hope for all of us.